A radio station in Krakow let its journalists go and replaced them with presenters that do not exist. One of those journalists was Matthias Dembski. He had been there about 2 years. The station cited financial problems. Within days, the same frequency was carrying voices that had never belonged to anyone. He was not let go because his work was poor. Stories like that get filed under one word, and it is the wrong one. Apocalypse. We hear catastrophe in it. Fire, collapse, the end of things. The word is older than that reading and much plainer. Apocalypse means unveiling, a cover taken off. Not the end of the world, the moment you finally see what was already in the room. Which changes the question entirely. If this technology is an unveiling, the interesting thing is not what it will do to us. It is what it is showing us, about work, about worth, about how tired we already were. That is what this film is about. It is the first of a series, and each one takes a single thread and follows it properly. We have spent our working lives inside organizations, long enough to watch the same thing happen more than once. A reorganization is announced, the change is explained as being about the future, and somewhere in the building, a person who has done good work for years begins to wonder whether they are still needed. We know that wondering from the inside. It did not start when the machines arrived. There are two comfortable ways to talk about this, and this series will avoid both. One says everything will be fine. The other says the end is near. They sound opposite. They do the same work. They let you stop paying attention. We would rather look at what is actually being uncovered and then say what can be done about it, because something can. Start with who carries this. The International Monetary Fund estimates that around 60% of jobs in advanced economies are exposed to artificial intelligence. In low-income countries, 26%. That second number sounds like protection. The fund reads it the other way. Fewer exposed jobs means less to gain from the change, while the disadvantage that was already there stays exactly where it is. Researchers at Stanford found something more precise. In the occupations most exposed to AI, employment for people aged 22 to 25 fell by around 6%, a drop of roughly 16% relative to older workers in the same jobs. Not the experienced ones, the ones just starting. The bottom rung is being taken out of the ladder, and the people standing under it are still being told to climb. Then look at where the value goes. The bottom half of the world's adults own 2% of global wealth. The top 10% own 75%. Between 1995 and 2025, the richest 1% took just under 37% of all new wealth created. Artificial intelligence did not begin that. It speeds it up because the gains go to whoever owns the systems, and most of us do not. Annabel Beals was a copywriter. When the work went, she said that going back to what came before, after having had her dream writing job, was devastating. Devastating. Sit with that word. It belongs to grief and to ruined cities. She reached for it to describe a job. Whatever was taken there was larger than a wage. This is the part we understand best, and it took us too long to see it. Research across decades shows it plainly. Around 34% of unemployed people experience psychological problems, against 16% of those in work. Longitudinal studies and natural experiments point the same way. The work goes first, and the distress follows. We do not only work for money. We work to be of use to someone. A society quietly removing usefulness has not yet said what it means to put in its place. And underneath all of it, something that was already true before any of this began. The World Health Organization reports that 1 in 6 people worldwide is affected by loneliness and connects it to roughly 100 deaths every hour. 332 million people live with depression. This is the ground the technology is landing on, not a healthy society being disrupted, a tired one being seen. Sitting with all of this, we kept waiting to feel the dread everyone says you are supposed to feel. It did not come. What came instead was recognition, the strange relief of finally seeing a thing you had been half aware of for years. That is what the old word was pointing at. If apocalypse means unveiling, the uncovering is not the disaster. It is the first honest moment. If this stopped here, it would be a film that flatters your fears. So the other side with the same care. In breast cancer screening, systems like these cut false positives by nearly 6% and false negatives by more than 9%. Those are not productivity figures. Those are women told correctly and in time that they are ill, and women spared a diagnosis they never had. Trials of AI companionship with isolated older people show measurable relief of loneliness. Anyone who tells you this technology is simply a threat is selling something too. Which is why the question everyone keeps asking is the wrong one. Is this good or bad? Ask it about the printing press, the factory, the clock. Every answer is both, and which one you get depends entirely on who owned the thing and what it was pointed at. A machine has no intentions. It has owners. The question that decides anything is not what can it do, but who is it for and at whose cost. We use these tools every day. They draft what we then take apart. They read faster than we can, and they never tire. That last part is the whole problem, and you only notice it from the inside. The machine does not rest, and it does not need to. Organize your work around something that never rests, and you end up measuring yourself against a standard that was never meant for a body. So, in the workshop, yes. On the altar, no. A tool in the workshop serves the work, and the work serves a person. A tool on the altar starts setting the terms. How fast, how much, how constantly available a human being is supposed to be. And there is a question underneath all of it that almost never gets asked. Everyone argues about whether the technology is dangerous. Almost nobody asks what it is being used to avoid. A machine that answers instantly is very useful if you would rather not sit with a question. A system that produces endless text is very useful if you are afraid of an empty page, or of your own silence. That is the part worth watching in yourself, not whether the tool is good, whether you are reaching for it out of curiosity or out of fear. Something can be done, not everything. The labour market does not bend to good intentions, and a film will not slow a technology that doubles while you watch it. But every organisation that adopts these tools makes choices. Dozens of them, mostly quiet, mostly early. Which work the machine takes. Which work it must never take. Whether the person who used to do it is retrained, moved, or simply gone. Those choices are where the unveiling becomes a decision. The organisations we worry about most are the ones that exist for people. Schools, charities, care, the small foundations that hold a neighbourhood together. They will be pressed to automate like everyone else, by budgets, by boards, by the plain availability of the tools. And they have the most to lose, because what they run on is trust, and trust is the one thing automation cannot restock. A letter written by no one, sent to someone who needed a person, in a company that costs a customer. In a care organisation, it costs the reason the place exists. Though we, in this film, has a name. Clarity One Works, a small practice. And the name gives away the rest. There is also a Clarity One without the works. That is the other wing. Prayer, psalms in old languages, films for people who cannot sleep. All of it free. The paid work is what keeps it free. We work with anyone, secular, religious, neither. What this looks like in practice is unglamorous. choosing which tasks a machine should carry so that a person is freed for the work only a person can do, building the film so the storyteller can rest, writing the system so the small team is not owned by it. The measure is one question, asked early and asked out loud. Does this leave the people more human or less? This was the first thread, the word and what the machine is unveiling. Part 2 follows the work itself. What happens to a craft when a machine learns it, and what remains, stubbornly, a human thing. If what you saw here touches your organization or someone in it, we are easy to find. And if all you carry away is the word, carry the word. The cover is off. What we do with what we see was always ours to decide.